Spoiler alert. Why did Kaiana leave Maui? The history of Hawaii that we get a glimpse of is largely shaped by a real Hawaiian warrior, Kaiana. Unlike other chiefs, he was a worldly man who had seen life beyond his native islands and understood more about politics than his peers. In the Chief of War, we find Kaiana has retreated from his former life as a successful battle commander for the King of Maui. He seems disillusioned, preferring a quiet life of fishing to feed his family to fighting battles for a king. He now braves the sea, catching sharks, a task that requires immense strength. The native awa root, a sedative, can only do so much to calm a large shark. In native Hawaiian culture, sharks hold spiritual significance, so when Kaiana's sister-in-law, Heke, sees his catch, she views it as a good sign. But the prayer Kaiana whispers to the shark reveals more about his character than spiritual devotion. By acknowledging the shark's sacrifice, he demonstrates that he doesn't take any life for granted, whether animal or human. This is a quality he likely doesn't share with the powerful people he once surrounded himself with. It's probably why he and his family, his wife Kupuohi, his brothers Namake and Nahi, and Namake's wife Heke, left their home on Maui. They gave up the privileges of being the family of King Kahekili's chief of war for a far less comfortable life on Kaua'i. Despite his new life, Kaiana still holds on to his identity. He keeps the cape and headgear that symbolize his status, but he doesn't like to cling to his Ali'i lineage. In fact, he'd rather people see him as an outcast than as the son of Kahekili's former chief of war. It's only when King Kahekili of Maui sends his men to bring his best warrior home that we learn the truth about Kaiana's departure. As a weapon in Kahekili's arsenal, Kaiana took far more lives than he saved. He has since transcended the greed and pride that motivate his peers to invade and kill. He may not know how he can bring about unity and peace, but he knows he doesn't want to kill in the name of power anymore. Is King Kahekili lying about the prophecy? King Kahekili's reputation precedes him. We learn a lot about him before we even meet him, just by the nature of his request to Kaiana. His men don't come to Kaua'i with a respectful summons. They're there to threaten Kaiana into doing the king's bidding. The fear shown by Kaua'i's nobles around Maui's men makes it clear that Kaua'i can't stand up to Maui's aggression. Since kings and queens are considered the voice of the gods, they define their islands' identities. Maui's dominating and intimidating nature reflects King Kahekili's preferred style of rule, which is exactly why Kaiana left his army in the first place. Being a killing machine for a king who craved power slowly destroyed Kaiana's soul. Still, he knows the price of defying a king's orders, so he has no choice but to respect the summons. The king's council is clearly jealous of Kaiana's strength and resents him for taking it away from their army. This makes it clear that the king and his people only care about getting Kaiana back. When Kaiana easily defeats Nui, the smug Maui warrior, it's easy to see why the king wants him back so badly. There's an ancient prophecy at the center of it all, one that was foretold generations before Kaiana and Kahekili. It speaks of a burning star in a feathered cape who will unite the 4 islands of Hawaii. Kaiana has always hoped for this prophesied king, and Prince Kupuohi's mention of it immediately grabs his attention. But something about Kahekili's story seems off. He claims his seers have seen a vicious attack coming from the kingdom of Oahu. However, the relations between Maui and Oahu are peaceful, and Oahu's young king Hahana wouldn't invade Maui unless he was provoked. Having killed for Kahekili's greed before, Kaiana knows how far the king will go to get what he wants. But when Kahekili mentions the prophecy and sounds confident that he is the one who will unite the islands, Kaiana is too hopeful to ignore him. Kahekili knows he needs Kaiana to defeat Oahu. He also knows that the only way to get Kaiana's help is to convince him that this war will paradoxically lead to peace. By bringing up the prophecy, he's trying to manipulate Kaiana into winning the kingdom of Oahu for him. If it wasn't for his brother Nahi's naive faith in the king, Kaiana probably would have followed his gut and stayed out of the whole thing. But his hope in the prophecy overrides his instincts, and despite knowing that Kahekili has never been a peacemaker, Kaiana chooses to believe in the prophecy over his own knowledge of the king.